One of my favorite weapons ever since it came out is the Chameleon. Chameleon came out with Title Update 7, that was before Warlords of New York if I remember correctly, and that makes it one of the oldest exotics in the entire game. However, ever since it came out, and even after it got a small rework or small buff if you wish, most players don't like it and seem to not want to use it at all. It drops like candy, so if you're a new player, you should have a pretty easy time getting it. It drops super often if you're doing heroic bounties and open world bosses. At least it's the exotic that I seem to get the easiest. So even though it's super easy to get and it's very old, so supposedly it should be, balanced in a way that it's not too bad, it's not too good, right? As you would expect from the older pieces of gear in this game. Most people hate it, and they have a good reason for it. It's an assault rifle, but it performs as an SMG. It has horrible base damage, and just as an awful accuracy. And in order for you to start doing some decent damage with it, you will have to have a pretty good build, while at the same time you will have to build up stacks in order to proc its talent. To make things even worse, if you don't have very good aim, and you're having a harder time aiming with a controller, it's gonna take even longer for you to proc that talent with an overall pretty bad DPS. But once you get your stacks up, and once you get close to the enemy and find the right build with it, it can turn into a beast, and that's why I absolutely love it. It's not good at sustaining DPS, it's not good at doing high damage at all the time. However, it's good at doing very high damage for a short period of time, and then getting back down to it. Obviously, this is not ideal if you want to sustain a decent DPS, but it can work very well under the right circumstances. So let's take a closer look at it, and then we will move on to the rest of the build, which is also very good. As you can see from the gameplay in the background, I have some control points that I'm clearing out right now. However, as the video moves forward, I will have clips from my full solo legendary run that I did at District Union Arena with this exact build. Full video of that run will go up probably Monday or Tuesday, so if you don't want to miss that out, make sure to subscribe and turn your notifications on. But let's get started. The first thing we need to talk about is obviously the base damage, which, as we just said, it's not that high. It's only at 40,000. Other weapons have similar base damage. For example, the exotic Saint Elmo's engine, which is one of the best weapons in the entire game, has just 4k more, but because it comes with a bigger magazine and because it has better weapon handling, it's much more effective and much more loved from the community. If we compare the Chameleon to weapons like the Capacitor, we will see a huge difference of 10k base damage. That's like 25% more compared to what the Chameleon comes with. However, I do think that it is unfair to judge an exotic just for its base damage, especially when that exotic has one of the strongest, if not the strongest, talent in the entire game. As you can see, when it comes to my RPM, I have 1035, and that's simply because I'm running 4 pieces of Striker. However, if you don't run Striker, then I think it's 900, which is also pretty high. 50 round magazine, nothing special here. Full assault rifle damage, health damage, and 9.5% critical hit chance, which of course you can recalibrate to damage targets out of cover if you want to have even more damage. So until now the weapon seems pretty average, right? But here are where things start to get interesting. Yes, the accuracy on the graph, as you can see, is below average because, as we said, it performs as an SMG. However, it has full stability. Keep in mind, however, that I do run the 4 pieces of Striker, which help a little bit, but full stability is still pretty good. Now, why is it good that it has full stability? Because if you're on a controller, you won't have any recoil to control. It will be very easy for you to get your stacks up and running, assuming you're playing close to the enemy, so the bad accuracy is not a problem. You see, Division 2 has accuracy and stability. Stability is how high your aim goes or how sideways your aim goes when you're shooting your weapon, right? It's what most other games call recoil. And then it also has accuracy. Accuracy is, as you can see where your crosshair is, when you're shooting, you have a white dot that goes all over the place. That's accuracy. And in the Chameleon's case, That white dot goes all over the place, so at medium to longer ranges is awful to use, but at close ranges, because it has no recoil at all, we don't really care about accuracy, because we're gonna be in the face of the enemy, obviously we're gonna be hitting those shots. And of course, the best part of the Chameleon, what I love most about it, is its talent, Adaptive Instincts. Hitting 30 headshots grants plus 20% critical hit chance, 50% critical hit damage for 45 seconds. Hitting 70 body shots grants 90% weapon damage for 45 seconds, and hitting 30 leg shots grants 150% reload speed for 45 seconds. So the way this weapon works, when you don't have the body shots talent proc, the damage of your weapon is lower than other weapons, only because as soon as you load up those stacks and you proc the talent, your damage will go through the roof. Chameleon needs to have lower base damage compared to the rest of the weapons in the game in order to be balanced. Otherwise, if it had the base damage of the Capacitor, for example, and then it had the exact same talent, it will be the most OP weapon in the entire game and nobody would use anything else. The headshot stacks are also very important. In this build, as soon as I proc it, I reach 60% critical hit chance and more than 200% critical hit damage. That headshot talent is like having 3 extra 6% critical hit chance rolls on your build, as well as having 4 extra 12% critical hit damage attributes on your build. So it's pretty nuts. Now, 2 very important notes about how the buff works here. As soon as you exit combat, the buff freezes and refreshes. What I mean by that, if you had, let's say, 10 seconds left on your body shot stacks, right? You leave combat, they freeze, they don't go down, those 10 seconds do not keep counting, and once you enter combat again, the talent will be maxed out again. You will have 45 seconds. So in a lot of parts of the legendary that I didn't really need to build my stacks up again, because I simply had them from before. They refreshed when I exited the room and they were full when I entered the next room, which means that the developers decided to do that little change, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't like that when it came out, in order to help sustain that a little bit higher DPS, and let me tell you, it works. So Chameleon as it is right now, in my opinion, is a very strong weapon that allows you to create different, more hybrid builds, simply because you don't have to invest so many of your build slots into weapon damage and critical hit damage and critical hit chance, simply because you will get those things from Chameleon's talent. Now let's move on to the rest of the build and see what I came up with. Let's talk about the backpack. The named Bellstone Armory piece, Liquid Engineer, with the perfect Bloodsucker talent. Killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of plus 12% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Max stack is 10. The difference between the perfect Bloodsucker and the simple version of it is that the simple version comes with 10% bonus armor on kill instead of 12. The reason I decided to use this backpack was simply the fact that I didn't want to use Memento. Using Memento will be better for your build, however, I understand that not everyone has it, and for a very long time I've been getting comments like, what could I use instead of Memento? Well, for this build, the Liquid Engineer or a Bellstone Armory backpack with the normal Bloodsucker on it will be great. And B, I wanted to try something different. I'm tired of having to use Memento on every single build I play with. I didn't want to use it on this, and the Liquid Engineer turned out to work great. Now, Bellstone Armory, branded. Why? 1% armor generation, which is low, however, it works great. You will understand what I mean in a bit. The core attribute of the piece is the blue core. We need that armor. We have 6% critical hit chance and 24% critical hit damage. Half of that comes from the last attribute on the backpack, and the other half comes from the gear mod slot in the backpack. What did I mean earlier when I said that the 1% armor generation works great? Well, from the Bloodsucker, we're getting bonus armor, 12% bonus armor, right? At the same time, when we get a kill, we get 10% armor on kill. And of course, we had that 1% armor regeneration. So what I noticed while I was playing was the fact that all the bonus armor that we get stacks up quite fast, especially in legendary missions where there are quite a few purple and red enemies that die super fast, so we build up those stacks of bonus armor, right? And that bonus armor, let's say we have 48% bonus armor, works as a shield, if you wish, for our normal armor. That means that while we're getting bonus armor, right, and we get hit, the regeneration for our normal armor keeps going up, but even more important, the base armor that we have, the white armor that we have, does not get affected. So let's say we enter a gunfight, we lose 50% of our armor, right? Then we enter the next gunfight, but because we have, let's say, 35-40% bonus armor, we will be able to get our white armor back before that bonus armor, from killing enemies of course, before that bonus armor is taken down. There were moments that I had 100% bonus armor, or moments when even though I got shot 3 or 4 times, I still had full armor simply because of how much bonus armor I had on top of it. And it absorbed all the damage, allowing for my armor generation to kick in, that 10% armor kill to stack up as well, and be like I just used a full armor kit, when in reality I did nothing. It was just that bonus armor giving me the protection that I needed in order to get my normal armor back. And that's why I really like this piece. Moving on to the chest piece, one of my favorite and most used pieces is of course my Grupo Sombra chest piece. We get 50% critical hit damage from the brand set, full red as you can see, so we get another 15% weapon damage, 6% critical hit chance, and another 24% critical hit damage. And then for its talent we're using Obliterate, so we get that 25% increase total weapon damage, which is a big boost to our damage. And then of course we have the 4 striker pieces that I told you about. I know, if I have used the backpack or the chest piece I would have gotten more damage, but I wouldn't have gotten all that extra bonus armor if I had swapped out my liquid engineer piece, and if I had swapped out my chest piece, I would have had a harder time building up those 200 stacks. It will take much longer, and my damage would start at the beginning of the fight at much lower numbers. Obliterate, what's good about it is that it gives you its full potential pretty fast. The striker chest piece, as I covered in the previous video of mine, which will be down below in the description with the 3 best striker builds in my opinion, is offering you more damage. However, it takes much longer to build up. As I said, 4 striker pieces, 2 of them come with red cores and the other 2 come with blue cores, which makes a total of 3 red cores and 3 blue cores for our build. And all the attributes on my build are critical hit chance and critical hit damage. My total stats are 52.5% critical hit chance and 154.6% critical hit damage without the Chameleon buff, which is pretty decent I would say. And for my specialization, as I said, I run Gunner for the 10% armor on kill, extra rate of fire when we take a kill, and the armor regeneration, which is very necessary with the Chameleon because we will be running out of ammo pretty fast. So yeah, that's the build pretty much. A pretty fun build to play with in my opinion. I had a lot of fun playing with it, and it's very effective as well. As you can see, you can clear solo legendaries, at least the easy ones. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what do you guys think of the build, if you like the Chameleon, if you don't like it. Have a wonderful day everybody. Bye bye.